Hey, what's up? Mike Crawford here, founder of Subversive Institute, and we're grateful for you joining us tonight. And tonight we're going to be discussing 11 policies and procedures that can minimize and change police brutality. And so we know that we believe that change comes from us, the people, and we're starting to see that in our nation through all the protests. We're starting to see our systems and structures impacted from all the way up to our federal, to our state, our local. There's a lot of movement happening, and we want to keep that rolling, particularly here in the city where Subversive Institute was founded and where we target Baltimore, but all across our nation. We want our citizens equipped and empowered to have the tools they need to make the changes we want to experience on a day-to-day basis. And so tonight we're going to do the first of two parts on these policies and procedures that we think would really change police brutality. And I'm going to be hitting them one by one. We'll do half of them tonight, and we'll do the other half Thursday night at 7:30. We want to encourage you to go to our Facebook page. We have uploaded some new solutions under our solutions tab. Also our website, subversiveinstitute.org. thesubversiveinstitute.org. Also, join us on Instagram at the Subversive Institute. And we're looking for some new and exciting things. So we're excited about that. So I want to get hopping here in some of these. And so the idea behind this is that we need to be constructive. We need to be intentional. We need to take all of the energy that's being harnessed right now and point it in a direction so that 10 years from now, we can look back and say, man, things changed because of this. Things are different because of this. And we want to be committed to activities that bring about substantial change, not just talking, but actual change, not just rhetoric, but actual change. We're not interested in someone's comprehensive plan if it doesn't actually bring about change. We don't care how comprehensive it is. You know, I'm just a believer that simple things rock. The greatest music in the world has like the same rhythm over and over and over for 3 minutes, and we rock to it. I don't understand why something has to be 900 pages long when, you know, it doesn't need to be. Put it on one page, give me the bullet points, and then go execute that thing, right? We want instant ability to comprehend it and go. All right, so we want to flow with these, and so we want to run with the first one, okay? This is the first thing we want to suggest and put on the table right here and now. We appreciate your feedback. I know many of you guys are watching right now. You got questions about these things, shoot me questions. I can see your live comments, and we'll try to address those. Part one tonight, and then part two Thursday at 7:30. So the first one is police chiefs should be approved by the communities they serve by at least a 2/3 vote during the election period of each community. Police chiefs should be approved by the communities they serve by at least a 2/3 vote during the election period, which means they should run. Interesting, huh? Right now in many communities, you know who elects the police chief? The mayor. Now, in a city like Baltimore, when we have mayoral volatility, when we've got a mayor every year, and they're bringing in new police chiefs, they can't get traction. It's crazy. You know what I mean? It bends towards kind of a real political kind of flavor to it, and we don't want that. So why wouldn't we be involved in that process? That's a question. Why wouldn't we be involved in that process? They seem to pick the police chief, give us the police chief, and basically then say, hey, now that you have the police chief, why don't you go ahead and listen to what they have to say? We never heard this police chief ever before. Don't know their policies, their philosophy, don't know their background, don't know anything about their character, nothing. They just get thrown on us. That's kind of crazy if you think about it. Why don't we get a say-so in that? I think we should have a say-so in that. And I think that would hold them more accountable, hold us more accountable, and give us the opportunity and to kind of contribute to that, you know? Now, if you want a more radical view, which I've suggested many times on this, is that, hey, look, you might want to look very seriously at the idea that we put this in our annual or our set cycle of elections. So this should be some of the things that we actually vote on, which means we should have police chiefs, talking to the community, saying, here's why you should vote for me. Here's what I'm going to do for the community. Because after all, I thought they serve us. I mean, is the police chief serving the mayor or us? I think they're serving us. We elect the mayor. Why wouldn't we elect the police chief? Number two. All right, so police chiefs. Number two, it's got to scroll across real quick. This one's going to be controversial, but it's true. I think we should have mandatory minimums for police officers who are arrested, tried, and convicted of first, second, and third degree murder. Mandatory minimums for police officers who are arrested, tried, and convicted for first, second, and third degree murder. You heard it right here, folks. Mandatory minimums. Why not? One of the problems with that we're facing in law enforcement is, some people have already written on this, is what we call qualified immunity. Now, there's going to be police unions and lawyers and maybe even police officers that don't like this. It's interesting to me that if a police officer wouldn't like this, you're enforcing the law, right? So why would you be against a law except when it comes to you? I'd be a little suspicious, gang people, if a police officer didn't want this. You want a double standard? We said if you are arrested, tried, and convicted. It's not like you just go to, like, you have to go through the judicial process. You have to go through the justice system. But if we find you guilty, you say, well, why the mandatory minimums? Well, we haven't had too much of a problem giving mandatory minimums out to civilians. So why not police officers? I do think we need to hold officers to high standards. And I think part of the problem is that we don't always see officers being held to the same standards that you and I are held to. And that's a problem. And we need to do away with that. And so we should have this as an expectation. This should be written within the codes, and this should be law, that they should face mandatory minimums. And no time served either. No, you don't get time cut off because your trial took 3 years. You're going to serve the hard time. The reality of it is that if we're going to give you a gun and we're going to give you a badge and we're going to give you authority and power to arrest people, give you authority and power to bring evidence against people and to be the arm of the community, to bring people who are committing crimes against the community and trust you with that, we also need to trust you with our lives. And I think it's a high, high, high calling to be a peace officer. And I think they need to know going in that if I slip and I break the law, particularly when it comes to murder, first, second, or third degree murder, I'm going to serve some time. I'm not going to get off. The union's not going to bail me out. My lawyers aren't going to bail me out. I'm not getting the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to serve time if I'm arrested, tried, and convicted of first, second, third degree murder. Look, folks, rogue officers are rogue officers. We can't always stop them, but we can put in place the systems and structures to hold them accountable. So here's the thing. In order for racism to exist, it needs systems and structures to enable it and protect it. Let me say that again. In order for racism to exist, it needs systems and structures to protect it and enforce it. So when the civil rights movement and the people went in 54, Brown versus Board of Education, and we tried to send the kids to school in 56, 57, they used the police department and the National Guard to keep them from going to school. Minorities are very familiar with the militarization of the police department to enforce systemic injustices and racism, okay? And we're very familiar with police officers being able to do this with immunity for decades. So, hey, this is one of the ways to break up the systems and structures that keep the quote unquote bad cops being bad. So if you're a bad cop and you can go in the department and hide in all of these immunities, that's not good. I was telling some people that, if an airline pilot got drunk before a flight and they found out, they might come up with a policy like, before you get on a plane, you got to blow. You know what I mean? You got to blow in the thing, see if you're drunk or you don't fly. Random drug testing. They do it to athletes. And last time I checked, LeBron James never killed anybody from a slam dunk. You know what I'm saying? Like Ray Lewis never tackled somebody like in the street. Like this doesn't happen when they're playing sports. This is a very volatile and dangerous job. So they need that. I like what Alan says. Yeah, why not mandatory minimums for cops who commit murder? We're not talking accidental, though they may plea to manslaughter to avoid the mandatory sentence. One of the reasons why I think that, if there's third degree with a little bit, should be there. All right. Number three. Mandatory minimums for officers who aid and abet in the murder of citizens. So, yeah. So if you sit and watch your fellow officer murder somebody, you're going to do a minimum as well. What we're trying to say is, no, dude, like if I'm driving the car and you rob the bank, we both get hit. I get hit for driving the car. You get hit for robbing the bank. We're both going down. Okay. That's the way it should be. Like what's justice for the citizen should be for the officer. But why does there appear to be a double standard? There shouldn't be. So all officers should know we're breaking up whatever fraternity may or may not exist. If it doesn't exist, congratulations, you've accomplished the bare minimum. Like, we're happy about it, but you're not getting like roses or candy. It's what you're supposed to do. But in the event that some officers want to take advantage of the system and abuse the system and get in this no snitch and this whole fraternity where we're going to close our eyes and our ears to what we know other officers are doing and not report them and not call them out and not stand against them, just know you're going to jail too. So the next time you see somebody standing or sitting or kneeling on someone's neck, just know if you're going to stand there and create a barricade so that that person can murder someone, you're going down too. You might want to push him off of the neck and tell him, dude, we're both going down. You ain't ruining my life. And you shouldn't be ruining this guy's life. Like, I ain't doing it. This is one of the ways. Remember, in order for injustice to exist, you need systems and structures. We were just watching a documentary on Jeffrey Epstein, and there's one on Netflix. And if you want to see systemic injustice at work, just watch the documentary. And some of you know, you do this work socially. You know this, that we got a lot of work to do everywhere, not just around the plight of the African Americans, but especially around the plight of women being sex trafficked and all these things. It's like there's no real consequences for this stuff. And if you're rich enough and you know the right people, you can just weed your way around these things. And so one of the things you can do as an action step is point all your energy, your anger, your frustration, use your legs and your mouth and your ears and your eyes and your hands to work on deconstructing the systems and structures that protect police brutality, that protect racism, that protect injustice. Deconstruct them, break them down, and put in systems and structures that hold people accountable. Number four. Police officers convicted of crimes will pay for their own legal costs from their pensions and savings, as well be required to pay for the legal fees, medical expenses, and burial expenses of the people they hurt. How about that? What do y'all think about that? And they're going to be required to pay those things, the legal fees, medical expenses, burial expenses, and make restitution of the damages incurred by their crimes. Imagine that. You know, one of the problems with our justice system is it can become punitive in nature. We want to punish people. Like, punish people. That's our thing. We're going to punish you for being bad. How about restitution? How about you took something, you're going to restore it? You burned a house, you need to restore the house. You stole my guitar, I need my guitar back. Well, here's $50. No, that was a $500 guitar. I need the $500 to buy the guitar. Restitution. And here's the key. They need to pay this out of their own. Right now, the way many departments are set up is we pay for that. You guys understand that? Do you even understand that? You understand that in a lot of departments, when the police officer goes rogue and commits a crime, that they don't pay for that? That's strange, isn't it? Why am I paying for that? Wouldn't you guys like it if you could commit a crime and you knew that Baltimore City or Detroit or Atlanta or LA or wherever you live, that they were going to pay for your crime? Like they were going to pay for your lawyer fees? They got your back? You're going to get the best lawyers? Wouldn't that be awesome? You don't have to pay for anything. And if something happened, like they'll take care of all that. So like when I do a crime, I got to take care of my own legal fees. I got to take care of my own stuff. But we were saying if police officers commit their crimes, they pay for their own legal costs from their pensions, from their savings, and they're required to pay the legal fees, medical expenses, burial, all that kind of stuff, restitution of the victim. If they're tried and convicted, this is what they got to do. It's called restitution. Otherwise, they're thinking, well, what's the worst case scenario? I go out here, I act stupid, I violate someone's civil rights, I murder them or I maim them, I beat them in a pulp, put them in a coma, they can't work. And all of a sudden, what happens? They go, well, the city's got my back. This is no personal expense of mine. I still get to keep my pension. I get to keep my savings. I get to keep everything. They might put me on a desk job. I might get off the street. This might be a promotion, not a demotion, a promotion. They might say you can never go on the street again, but you're going to keep your money, keep all your stuff, and we'll pay for it all. So we have to address this. Tolly writes, we're going to have to address public sector unions. The unions protect and cover for the bad apples, like bad teachers. Bad cops are hard to fire. GOP doesn't want to be anti-cop. Dems don't want to be anti-union. This is this. Remember what I said in the beginning. Tolly's so right. In order for an injustice to exist, systems and structures must exist to protect and enable it, right? And so we're talking about what we need to do. We need to address the systems and structures that protect, particularly the racist police officers. We need to protect those who are criminals and not allow them to go in and hide and let them know, hey, man, if you commit a crime in here, you're going to jail. You're serving a minimum, and you're going to pay for this out of your money. It's not our money. Our tax money ain't paying for your crimes. You committed a crime. If I commit a crime, I can't go to Baltimore City and ask them to pay for my lawyer fees. You guys aren't gonna pay for the restitution I have to make to my victims. I got to pay that. It should be the same way with cops. Number five. Police officers will be suspended without pay for 30 days if caught not wearing their body cameras, and having them on a second time violation is immediate termination of employment. So I know a lot of people say, hey, man, these body cameras, they don't really do much. I don't know. You say, well, they don't keep a cop from killing people. Well, I mean, I don't know if that's the point. I think the point's accountability and the point's recording. By the way, I think there needs to be like national standards for this. Some departments, our cameras don't work or they're fuzzy. It's amazing that some of these departments have billion-dollar budgets and their cameras don't work. Dude, really? I mean, you guys got millions of dollars and you can't get body cameras to work? And then it's amazing to me that we still live in an age where some police cars or vehicles aren't equipped with cameras. And you see some other cars, they got cameras all 4 angles. Like, this is the new age. This is the reality. You know what I mean? Like, this is where it should be. But there needs to be consequences for, oops, we beat someone to a pulp and there were tons of officers around and no one had their camera on. I'm sorry. We forgot to turn them on. I didn't wear it. Guess what? You're wearing them. The first time we catch you, 30 days suspension without pay. The second time, you're fired. People say, well, I'm not working under those circumstances. Thank you very much. You just disqualified yourself. Congratulations. And we are very grateful for you telling us who you really are. You're a criminal who wanted to work for an organization where you feel like you got a badge and a gun and some authority and you can get away with it. If you're threatened by a body camera, you got big problems, because a body camera can also serve to protect you, right? Not just the civilians, but you as an officer. It can justify your actions, just as well condemn you. But we got to have standards with body cameras. Not enough just to talk about it and say they kind of wear them and then hear all these stories that they don't turn them on and they're not working. Like, this is just like, this should be a standard. Look, I can't go to the airport with a knife this big and get on the plane. They're going to say, Mr. Crawford, we might take you to jail, but you're not getting. I can't even take a medicine ball through security. Starbucks medicine ball. You know what I'm saying? I can't take a package of Krispy Kremes through there. There's standards. There should be standards for police officers. Last one tonight. Last one. All right, last one. Police officers will undergo audits every year by an independent board paid for by the police department, but elected by the voters in the community every election cycle. Now, remember, one of our things is, if you don't like these, no sweat off our back. Come up with your own, get your own group together, get a petition together and run with it, man. No hard feelings, but by all means do something. What we're suggesting is that police officers should undergo audits every year by an independent board paid for by the department, but elected by the voters in the community every election cycle. That could be great accountability. And you could change them out and they could undergo the audit. You can present that. All the materials can be presented to them so they can overview that. So things like how many complaints against this officer, how many of those complaints were followed up with, what kind of complaints were there, how many tickets did they write, were the tickets exclusively towards one group or another. I mean, you could do these audits and, the reality of it is, this, like you and I, you guys who are listening to me now, we get audited all the time by the IRS. You know what I'm saying? Like, we get audited all the time. So, we get audited all the time. The public's audited all the time. You guys ever gotten a bill in the mail and then you get another bill and they're like, oh, you know what? We didn't charge you enough last year. We went back and did some research and we found out that your bill was actually $10 higher on your water bill than we charged you with. You know what I'm saying? It's like, dude, this is what it is. This is a very important job. They should be audited every single year. Andreas says, don't let the unions give money to prosecutors' campaigns, conflict of interest, accountability. That's what I'm saying. Listen, in order for injustices to exist, whether it's racism or police brutality, it has to have a system and a structure. In the 50s, there was a law of segregation. Everybody knows it's racist. Everybody knows it's wrong. The reason why it existed is because mayors and governors could use the police department to enforce it. And if you really pushed on them, they'd bring in the National Guard. And interestingly enough, the pictures were very similar: tear gas, batons, beatings, arrests, or protesting. I thought that was a constitutional right. So we militarize the police department for what purpose? To protect an unjust system. Why was the system created? To enforce racist practices, to enforce injustices, to protect it. It's kind of like the mob. The mob wants to do criminal activity. So what do? They set up systems and structures to make sure they get away with it. So they pay off this senator, this congressman, this mayor. They make deals with some police officers. This is how it is. We say, oh, that's just the movies. That's not the movies. It's systems and structures. If you don't believe it, do your homework. Do your homework. Do your homework. So what we're suggesting is there should be audits. There should be audits by an independent board, and we should be elected by the community. Elected by the community. Paid for by the police department, elected by the voters in the community. Elected. So now you would have people on their merit, on their character, on their wisdom, on their knowledge, on their know-how. Maybe we would have PhDs in social sciences on this audit board overlooking these things. People from professors at college, ordinary citizens. You could have a whole board sitting every year looking at information and rendering a verdict. So now we're holding the police department accountable. And, you know, a department that doesn't want to be accountable, an officer doesn't want to be accountable. So I don't know about that. I don't know about that, y'all. I don't know about that. So what are we saying? In order for something unjust to exist, you need systems and structures. So what are we going after? We're going after the systems and structures that enable some of these bad police officers to exist. And we've got to cut down and get into the mix. Brother Meyer says police cars have printers. If someone calls in a description and the police stop you because you fit the description, you should be able to ask for a description. I mean, why not? I'm just saying. I mean, the technology we have, let's upgrade. Let's get to 2020. These would be ways where you can actually get to the infrastructure, the systems and structures, and upgrade them. And the ones that are bad, deconstruct them and remove them, replace them with righteous systems and structures. And I'm telling you right now, it'd be harder for corrupt cops, it'd be harder for racist cops, it'd be harder for complicit police officers who want to say nothing and do nothing. It'd be very difficult. And you know what I think you would get in the long run? Well, the good police officers are going to be good. But I think recruiting would be different, because some of these guys who are coming in police departments know, hey man, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna go crazy. I'm gonna do this and that, and I'm gonna get away with it. It's like a brotherhood. This is not a gang. Sometimes police departments act like gangs, but they're not gangs. And they would know there's a lot of accountability. And you know what they would do? They'd say, you know what? We need to change something. You guys know that hospitals kill people every year. I said it, didn't I? People die in hospitals. Some people just die in hospitals, but some people die in hospitals because they make mistakes. And every now and then you get a really crazy, wicked doctor who sneaks under and like kills people in the hospital. You know what hospitals do? They put in systems and structures to try to minimize it and stop it. Right? They don't burn the hospital down. They put in systems and structures to try to minimize it. All right. So that's all we're talking about. Hey, I want to thank you guys for joining us tonight. Thank you for your comments. As always, subversiveinstitute.org, our solutions. Get in where you fit in. By the way, if you go to our solutions tab and you go to this 11 policies and procedures, it's on our website, you will see at the bottom where we're asking people to click, this is an action step, and affirm this statement. And the statement is, I believe we need new policies and procedures for police departments in order to decrease police brutality. Like, we need thousands of people to go on and click that. You can share that, thesubversiveinstitute.org, under our solutions tab. It's under 11 policies and procedures that will curb and stop police brutality. You can get that, and you can share that with people, ask people to interact with it. And again, don't spend hours debating people on Facebook. If they don't like it, simply tell them, great, what's your solution? It shouldn't be this. Great, change it and give us something back. And remember, the idea is to put something in your hand that you can act on. We originally thought, what if you had something like this? And many of us mobilized and we were able to go, boom, let's turn this into a petition. Then let's give it to our mayor, our city council, our governor, right? Our police chief, and say, this is what we want. It's high time we start. Look, we can yell, we can scream, but at some point we need to produce some material and say, this is what we want, and you will give it to us because you work for us. We don't work for you. We voted you in. You serve us. We don't serve you. So this is what we want as a community. It's in writing. It's not 900 pages with all this stuff buried in there for funding for this and let this and sneaking and all this. It's simple. It's plain. I'm about to go public any on you guys. Give me the lane. I'll throw it down your throat like Barkley. That's a Public Enemy line for you old heads. But you can go there. Follow us on Instagram also at the Subversive Institute. Check out our Facebook page and share this, and come back Thursday because we're going to finish the list here. We're going to go 7 through 11 and finish this up. Love you guys. Stay in the fight. Let's be subversive. If you see something, say something. If you see something, do something.